Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of the Big Fight Feel podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of the Big Fight Feel podcast. I am Joseph Conlin here today. Thank you all for joining me on Saturday, April 24th, 2021. I hope all of you are having a great Saturday afternoon. We got a lot to talk about today, man. Daniel Bryan is in the rumors big this week. He is getting a Universal Championship match next Friday on SmackDown, where he is putting his SmackDown career on the line. We're going to get to a lot of Daniel Bryan rumors. That is the head topic of today. Is Daniel Bryan done as a long-term wrestler? Also, on today's podcast, Mickie James was in the rumors big on Thursday night after she received a trash bag with her belongings in that from the WWE. Who was fired from it? I don't even know how to describe it. Besides, WWE is petty as hell. Also on today's podcast, we got Wrestlemania Backlash coming up. We got Double or Nothing coming up. I'm going to give you my match card predictions for both of those pay-per-view shows and so much more on episode 6 of the Big Fight Feel podcast. And I thank you all for joining me today. We're going to kill the music for now. Beautiful day here, man. It's a beautiful day in New Jersey, sunny and 66 degrees. And believe it or not, I was actually going to film episode 6 outside today. It's beautiful weather, but I don't know what's going on. There's just 12-year-old girls yelling and screaming on their bikes. And I'm like, my head is going to explode if I stay out here for an hour. So here we are doing it inside. Maybe on a future episode, if it's nice outside, we will do an outside podcast. And I also forgot to mention on the intro to sit back at the normal. Come dressed for the occasion. Sit back, relax, and bring your favorite drink with you. I finally got a Pepsi this week, so sit back, relax, and have your favorite drink, man. Now I'm ready. Now I am ready to go. I had a couple sips of my drink. We got 6 topics, or actually 4 topics to talk about, and then I'm going to give match card predictions for WrestleMania Backlash and Double or Nothing to end the podcast. But let me get my promotions out there already, get it out of the way. If you guys have not already, be sure to check out this week's, you got Monday Night Raw review, doing the best numbers this week so far. We got Monday Night Raw, NXT, AEW, and we got SmackDown from last night. If you haven't already, go check those 4 reviews out now on the Big Fight Field channel. And then tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about Rebellion tomorrow night after the pay-per-view with Wesley Williams, who's my co-host for AEW Dynamite. The thing is, I don't know yet if we're going to talk about the whole pay-per-view itself, or we're just going to talk about the Rich Swann Kenny Omega match. I'm still have to figure that out leading up into tomorrow night's pay-per-view. And then also, we have the NFL Draft coming up on Thursday night, April 29th. And I want to do a mock draft for that as well. And with all the busy content, Raw, NXT, AEW, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do a mock draft, but I want to do a mock draft sometime tomorrow. And I might try to get my brother on here to talk about the mock draft. And then Thursday night, the night of the draft, I am going to do a short recap of the draft, but it's only going to be picks from my teams, of course, the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going to recap that Thursday night after the Dolphins do their pick 18. I'm going to be right here talking about my thoughts on the Dolphins draft picks and the Dallas Cowboys 10th overall pick in the draft. Let's get started in today's podcast. Let me take one more sip real quick. There we go. Let's talk about it. Big thing, Daniel Bryan. A lot of people's favorites of all time. He had the Wrestlemania and WrestleMania 30. Personally, that I've seen, my favorite WrestleMania moment of all time. Not match, moment. Match still goes to Triple H and The Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. But it was my favorite moment of all time. Daniel Bryan, probably one of the most selfless individuals in the wrestling business. Is he going to be a long-term guy? Are we looking at the end of Daniel Bryan's career in the WWE? I'm going to look up his age right now, actually. I should have done that before, but I will do it now. Okay. He is 39, so he is close. May 22nd, he's going to be 40 years old. He said he wants to do this. He still wants to wrestle, but I think his time as a long-time wrestler is coming to an end. And he actually had a lot of information in a recent interview. The first of which I have 3 different news for Daniel Bryan. And the first of which I'm going to talk about is his contract is up in September of 2021. He has not signed a contract yet to stay with the WWE. And it was out this week that Daniel Bryan is trying to weasel his way into wrestling for WWE and other companies. Let me just tell you, if I was a betting man, and if I had to bet that Daniel Bryan was going to wrestle for WWE and another company, I highly doubt that's happening. WWE is not going to let Daniel Bryan go out there and wrestle for New Japan while under a WWE contract. They will never let anybody do that, and especially if they're not going to let a big name like Daniel Bryan do that, they're not going to let anybody do that. And if I was a betting man, WWE would not do that. So I have this article here that I'm about to read to you guys, and I'll give my takes on it. Daniel Bryan wants to keep wrestling and wants to wrestle everywhere. Bryan has openly discussed his desire to wind down his career as a full-time wrestler as his current contract with WWE expires. During a meet-and-greet session ahead of WrestleMania 37, Bryan once again confirmed that his contract is up soon, and he's figuring out how to balance wrestling with being a father and husband. So really, what's important to him now is... sorry about that, that's my alarm. Now I gotta go find the article again. There we go. his main thing is being a father and being with Brie and being with his baby Birdie. I can understand that. I completely get that. And probably that's his top priority, right? No, I don't want to say top. That's probably his top priority. I don't know if I'm right by saying that, but I wouldn't be shocked if it is. So he goes on to say, and I quote, "My contract is up soon. We need to figure out what's a good balance between home life and wrestling. I never want to stop wrestling. I love it. It's just figuring out. It's just figuring that out." That's what he said. So he's trying to figure out what's good for him and how can he work this out with long-term with a part-time wrestling and being a father. Because being a father, that's what he wants to be. He now wants to be a father, take care of Brie. And like I said, I completely understand that. And plus, well, actually, what I was about to say, we'll get to that in a little bit. So when he asked if he could wrestle elsewhere, Bryan said, "It'd be interesting if I could wrestle in different companies and WWE. Like I said, if I was a betting man, WWE is not going to let Daniel Bryan wrestle for another company under a WWE contract. If he wants to wrestle for other companies, he is not going to sign a WWE contract when the time comes in September. And if Daniel Bryan gets released, that's a big deal, folks. That is a massive, massive deal." He then says, "It'd be interesting if I could wrestle," and then continuing to quote, "That's something I'm trying to weasel my way into right now. Bryan has said in the past that he liked to wrestle guys like MJF, Jungle Boy, Jonathan Gresham, Darby Allin, and others who are not currently under a WWE contract. In a recent interview with BT Sport, Bryan discussed an odd detachment, which we will talk about later. An odd detachment he had before heading out for his WrestleMania 37 main event. I don't want to be somebody who gets too ahead of themselves and dreams about a scenario and it doesn't happen. But could you imagine Bryan Danielson Wednesday nights on TNT for AEW on Dynamite? Could you imagine the reception that is going to get? That is going to be like I said before, that is going to be a massive deal, not just for AEW, not just for WWE, but for pro wrestling. That is a big deal, folks. If Daniel Bryan, under the name of Bryan Danielson, is in All Elite Wrestling, that will break the internet, I think. I really think that could break the internet. And with the names he said, MJF, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, there are way more names that people would love to see Daniel Bryan compete against in AEW. Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Sammy Guevara, Ricky Starks, Lance Archer. There is a plethora of names that Daniel Bryan could work with in AEW. And then in New Japan as well. I would like to see him. I wouldn't be angry if he went to New Japan as well. I don't think he would go to New Japan, go all the way to Japan. But to imagine Daniel Bryan against Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada, Kota Ibushi. Talk about dream matches. Daniel Bryan versus Okada. That's a match of the century, folks. That is a match of the century right there. Unbelievable. So, next one. Hold on a second. Next article I got. Let me find it. Thoughts on a retirement for Daniel Bryan. So when discussing his experience at WrestleMania, Bryan reflected on being disconnected from the moment. As a veteran of the industry, that was an unfamiliar feeling for something Bryan felt a bit scary. And he says, and I quote, "It was really bizarre. I don't know why or how it happened, but it was like anything I've felt while wrestling before. Maybe it was a sign that it's time to let go of being a full-time wrestler, which is something that I have been thinking for a while." So he's not feeling the same at Tampa, Florida for WrestleMania. He was not feeling the same before heading out for that main event. Bryan then continued, and it all worked its way into turning a triple threat match at WrestleMania 37, and Bryan wasn't sure if he was needed. He says this, and I quote, "I kept trying to get out of it too," Bryan said with a laugh in an interview with BT Sports' Alex McCarthy. "You know, this is a heck of a story. 10 years to do the day that he was forced to retire. It was shortly after Elimination Chamber and a build to the singles match I had with Roman Reigns at Fastlane. It was like, this is going to be a stick Daniel Bryan in here thing. Not to say that I didn't want to be a part of it. I just thought it would be such a strong main event with just the two of them. WrestleMania 30, it felt like with the way the crowd was reacting to Batista and Randy Orton, they kind of needed me in there. This one didn't feel like it needed me. It's all water under the bridge now, but maybe that was in the back of my mind. Hey, I'm not sure I should be in this match. It's why I had this weird reaction to actually being out there." So a lot of people on social, not me, but a lot of people on social media were very, I would say, mad, angry when Daniel Bryan was added into the Universal title match at WrestleMania 37. That match was fantastic. That match was fantastic with Daniel Bryan in there. I don't know how it would have been with a one-on-one Edge and Roman Reigns match, but Daniel Bryan actually agreed with the fans, and he said he was going to try to get out of it, but I don't think he would have been able to because he doesn't have that much power in the back. So, Bryan continued to say that even if people agreed with him that he shouldn't be in the match, he wasn't sure he would be able to get out of it. He says this, and I quote, "There are a lot of people who agreed that I shouldn't be in the match, but you can't say it. If you say it, people would be like, what a jerk that guy is. I think there were people backstage where I would say to them and be like, I disagree. I don't know if they were just being polite or if they were going to do it regardless of whether we agreed or not," he said. Bryan did say that the triple threat match was fun from a storytelling perspective. So there you go. He wanted to voice, but he can't because I don't think he would have been able to change it, and he doesn't have the power He is a part of SmackDown Creative, though. He is a part of the creative team on SmackDown, but he can't get himself out of matches and stuff like that. So, there you go. For all the idiots that said, oh, Daniel Bryan, here we go. Daniel Bryan's putting himself in the main event of WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan was being selfless, and Daniel Bryan didn't even want to be in this match at WrestleMania. How selfless is that? How selfless of an individual is Daniel Bryan that he's wanting others to be in the spot over him? That says a lot about his character and his Daniel Bryan as a person, I think. So then, the final piece of news that I got for Daniel Bryan is Bryan got an odd feeling as he walked into Raymond James Stadium for WrestleMania 37. He says this, and I quote, "It was really bizarre," Bryan told BT Sport. "It's taken me time to fully process what the experience was like because it wasn't like a normal thing. I felt very out of body in it. When I'm wrestling, I feel like everything, and I feel like I'm enjoying it. This was weird. I was out there, and it felt like I was detached. It was so strange that before the match started, I got this strange feeling like, oh no, this is what it's like before you die. Am I going to die? Well, okay. I don't know why or how it happened, but it was like anything I've ever felt before." Bryan said he was calm before heading into the ring and not nervous at all, but noted he's also felt relatively calm since returning from retirement. And didn't feel like he was calm before going into the main event of WrestleMania. That's actually scary to hear, man. That is actually pretty scary that he didn't feel like he had a strange feeling. Normally, Daniel Bryan is fine with everything, not nervous. I don't know why. I honestly don't have an answer, but he continues to say, "I haven't watched it back. I don't know if watching it back would help figure out why I'm so detached. Maybe it was a sign that it's time to let go of being a full-time wrestler. The odd detachment, I was like, whoa. Like I said, I'm either gonna die, or maybe it's a sign that it isn't the same type of fulfillment that it was before. I've been trying to meditate on it and talk to my friends that I'm close with, like, what is that?" Bryan went on to say that life is a mystery, and he isn't sure what's next. He did note, "My contract is up relatively soon. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life." So that is everything related to Daniel Bryan, folks. I don't know what to say. Oh, why is it darkened like this? I guess it's fine. I don't really know what to say about all of this. It looks like that Daniel Bryan is done as a full-time wrestler after SmackDown on Friday. He is losing that Universal Championship match to Roman Reigns, and then I feel like he is going away for a very long time until he decides what he wants to do with his contract. Does he want to re-sign with the WWE? Or does he want to be a full-time father and potentially wrestle for another company? I'm not so sure. I don't know. I don't know what to say. As a long-time Daniel Bryan fan for years and years and years, next Friday could legitimately be Daniel Bryan's last match ever in the WWE. That's pretty scary to think about. So Friday night is going to be an emotional night. If this is Daniel Bryan's last match ever in the WWE, we could be next Friday on SmackDown. We could be watching Daniel Bryan's last match ever in the WWE against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. So that is all the Daniel Bryan news that I have today on the podcast. We are going to slim it down a little bit, and then we're going to get into the Mickie James storyline. We're going to get two topics right off the bat. Possible locations for SummerSlam 2021. It was reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider that WWE is looking into locations that have high capacity. Those places could be somewhere in Texas, as the Houston Astros are running a pretty big capacity for their baseball games. If you watch the highlights on SportsCenter or whatever, and they turn on the Astros game, there's a lot of people at the Astros game, not really spread out. And the Texas Rangers, they had a full capacity for their opening day game at their first stadium, at the first game of their new stadium against the Toronto Blue Jays. The other place that was pitched was Phoenix, Arizona. Now, if this is the case, this will be the first WWE live event outside of Florida in over a year. And personally, if Wrestlemania if Dallas, Texas is getting WrestleMania, which it is, the next WrestleMania is in Dallas, Texas, I don't think it makes sense for them to get SummerSlam as well. So if I was a betting man in all of this, Phoenix, Arizona is getting SummerSlam this year. They are going to get SummerSlam. Now, whether that's at Chase Field once again like Royal Rumble 2019, that's a good possibility. I could definitely see it being in an outdoor venue at Chase Field. A lot of people there. Would I go? Probably not. It's too far away. I'll be getting ready for college. So I will probably, if it's in Arizona, I'm probably not going to SummerSlam. Probably not going regardless, but if I was a betting man, like I said, Phoenix, Arizona is looking like a good destination for SummerSlam. Whether it's going to be outdoors at Chase Field or you want to risk it and make it in an indoor arena, you could do that as well. But I would say that Chase Field is probably a better idea for that. So those are rumors of where SummerSlam is going to take place, either someplace in Texas or Phoenix, Arizona. And then we got Charlotte Flair as the reason to why she was suspended this past Monday on Raw. Let me pull it up here. It was reported by BT Sports' Alex McCarthy that the reason Charlotte Flair was suspended, quote-unquote, suspended on Monday's Raw is to get minor dental surgery done. It is reported by McCarthy that Charlotte Flair will not be out for a long, extensive time, and it will only take a couple of weeks. So, Charlotte's out. She came back to Raw after WrestleMania. She immediately goes to the top. She takes out Rhea Ripley. She takes out Asuka. She has the main event match this past Monday against Asuka. She lost, and then she beats up an official, and she gets suspended. So, first off, I have no problem. I have no problem with Charlotte Flair being suspended in the WWE. I think it's time to move on from Charlotte Flair. I'm not saying she's leaving the company and going somewhere else. What I mean by it's time to move on is it's time to move on and focus on other women in the division. You have pushed your Charlotte Flair agenda, and you have pushed Charlotte Flair down at the fans' throats for far too long. Way too long. She, in my opinion, should not have even won the match at WrestleMania 32. That should have went to Sasha Banks. She should have put over Asuka at WrestleMania 34, but Charlotte, or Karen, because she has been acting like a Karen on television, Karen refused to put over Asuka, so she ended her streak. And then she was involved in the WrestleMania 35 main event, which should have always been Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. That's the only thing that made sense for a women's main event. But they had to do their Charlotte Flair agenda, and they put Charlotte Flair in the main event of WrestleMania 35. And then Charlotte Flair beat Rhea Ripley, and they sent her to NXT because they thought she would get ratings against AEW. That failed. So they completely need to move on from Charlotte Flair. Nobody in the IWC besides Charlotte Flair stands cares about Charlotte Flair. Nobody wants to see Charlotte Flair in the title picture. Nobody wants to see Charlotte Flair as the Raw Women's Champion. Nobody wants to see Charlotte Flair beat Rhea Ripley again. Nobody wants to see that. So, I don't know what they do. Personally, I would leave her out for an extended period of time. Make it longer than a couple of weeks, because you're just gonna piss more people off if you bring her back again and you put her right in the same spot she was before. Now, granted, they're probably not going to do that. They're probably going to put Charlotte right back in the title picture after Rhea Ripley probably faces Asuka again. So, that is that. She's out because she has minor dental surgery. But then the final thing I have to say about this is, if this was always supposed to happen, if this was supposed to happen for weeks upon weeks, then why did you bring back Charlotte Flair after WrestleMania just for her to get suspended and be off of television once again? I completely don't understand. I just don't understand that at all. But it's time to move on from Charlotte. You now got your Sasha Banks, your Baileys, your Bianca Belairs, your Rhea Ripleys, Io Shirai's probably coming up to the main roster pretty soon. Mia Yim's on SmackDown. Who else is money? You got Shayna Baszler, which I said last night on SmackDown. Hopefully they're starting to break up Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So, yeah, it is time. It is time to move on from Charlotte Flair. Mickie James. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. Mickie James. So Mickie James posted a video. She posted a video Thursday afternoon, and it was a video of a box with a trash bag in it with her belongings. And the thing that the exact quote that she said in her video was, "This is pretty effing accurate that they sent this home to me. Thanks, WWE." So you have Mickie James. Now, she was released in the releasings last week. Last Thursday, she was released by the company. They sent home her belongings in a effing trash bag. She's a 6-time women's champion. Disrespectful isn't even the right word to throw around. It's not even the right word to throw around. It's disgusting. It is disgusting that something like this actually happened. And we found out that she is not the only one. And boy, these comments on her Instagram post, I gotta read this to you guys. I have to read these comments in her video. I need to read these comments because I found out that she is not the only one that got these belongings sent in a trash bag. Jillian Hall replied, "Well, I thought it was just me." So Jillian Hall got the same thing that Mickie James got, her belongings in a trash bag. I believe Gail Kim said she received the same thing. Maria Kanellis had the same thing last year. She received the same thing last year. That is terrible. And the fact that the person who got away with this time and time and time again, I don't know how he was fired years ago. And this person that I'm talking about is Mark Carrano. It was tweeted out by Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Let me read Triple H's tweet first. Triple H states the following: "Upon learning of the disrespectful treatment some of our recently released talent received on behalf of the company, we took immediate action. The person responsible for this inconsiderate action has been fired and is no longer with the WWE." That person was Mark Carrano. If you guys know who Mark Carrano is, he works with the female wrestlers backstage, and he is basically an errand for Vince McMahon. So whenever Vince McMahon needs something, "Mark, I need you to go get these papers from the printer for me. Could you go do it? Mark, I need you to get Bruce for me." That was Mark Carrano backstage, and he was also a main part of Total Divas and Total Bellas on the E Network. Stephanie McMahon came out and said this at Mickie James: "I am embarrassed for you or anyone else who has been treated this way. I apologize personally and on behalf of WWE. This person responsible is no longer with our company." So The final thing is Mickie James yesterday wrote out this long paragraph on her Instagram. I'm going to read it. And I mean, it was rumored that WWE is making management, talent operation moves backstage. People are going to be leaving. It was tweeted out by WrestleVote. So WWE was in a hot mess on Thursday night because of all of this stuff that happened with Mickie James. James had this to say: "I would like to address this one last time, then we can all move on. I have so many amazing things on the horizon. The last thing I desire is to have any of that tainted with ugliness and negativity. I take zero pride or joy in the fact that someone would lose their job ever, especially someone I considered a friend. I am confident that Vince and the McMahons had no idea that this is how we were sent packing. It hurt a fragile me much more 10 years ago when my belongings arrived on my doorstep because WWE has my everything. WWE was my everything. I'm sorry. I've grown as women and a person as much as we all have in the business. I am stronger today than I have ever been and smart enough to know that it wasn't a deliberate attack on me. However, the symbolism cannot be denied. I am sorry for a thoughtless and tone-deaf act would cost anyone their job. But I am not sorry that I had the courage to ensure it will never happen to anyone else moving forward. So if that's my final mark in this company moving forward, I am okay with that. When I first started in the business, one of the best pieces of advice I received was, just leave the business better than you found it, kid. And that always been my ultimate when my belongings arrived on my doorstep, because WWE was my everything. Okay? I've grown as women and a person as much as we all have in the business. I am stronger today than I've ever been and smart enough to know that it wasn't a deliberate attack on me." Hold on a second. I just read this, so I gotta find the part. Where was I? Okay. That was always been my ultimate goal. I love you all so much. I'm legitimately grateful for my time at WWE and throughout my whole career. I'm looking forward to everything that is next. I truly hope you are too. Perhaps you will join me. Sincerely and humbly yours, Mickie James Aldis. Wow. WWE was her everything in her life. That's all she wanted to do, was be a part of World Wrestling Entertainment and be a part of the WWE. And that's how she gets treated when she gets released. You put her belongings in a effing garbage bag. She is a 6-time women's champion. She gave that company everything. And that's how you treat her. That's how you send her home. Yeah, we'll just put her belongings in a trash bag. I wouldn't be shocked if Bruce Pritchard had an influence on this, because Nick Aldis called him out a couple months ago for how much of a piece of shit he is, how much of a piece of shit he is to the wrestling business, and how much he doesn't care. So, I would not be shocked if Bruce Pritchard had a little bit of influence on this, along with Mark Carrano. But I'm just very sad for Mickie James that this happened to her. One day, and you know what's going to happen, WWE is going to need people for the Hall of Fame. I am sure in a couple years, Mickie James will go into the Hall of Fame. But is she going to accept that now, the way WWE treated her with this whole incident? Will she ever come back to the WWE after this? I don't know. I'm beyond disgusted that this even happened. It should have never happened to Mickie James, and even to past wrestlers that got released and got the same thing to them. Maria Kanellis, Jillian Hall, no one deserves that. So I'm just, wow, I don't even know what to say. She deserves better than this. It's really all I can say. And this situation was, I could tell that the way Stephanie McMahon narrated the tweet Triple H, WWE was embarrassed. That entire company was embarrassed by the way Mark Carrano sent the belongings to Mickie James in a trash bag. Absolutely, that company was embarrassed. That is a disgusting act. They don't want to be looked at that way, and that's the way they were. So, shame on them. Shame on them for treating Mickie James like this. And I know that they're gonna call her one day. Hey, Mickie, do you want to be in the Hall of Fame? You want to come back for a Hall of Fame ceremony? We're gonna induct you. Who knows if she says yes or no? Who knows? But that's all the stuff I have to say on Mickie James. Moving on, final parts of the podcast. Then we're going to get out of here. That's all the news topics for today, by the way. We have 2 pay-per-views coming up. WrestleMania. I thought I'd do a little bit something different today here on the podcast. Really not much news that is big news outside of the Daniel Bryan stuff and the Mickie James situation. So I figured we have 2 pay-per-views coming up. So why not give my match card predictions for those shows? We have WrestleMania Backlash on Sunday, May 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. And we have AEW's Double or Nothing on Sunday, May 30th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on pay-per-view. Going to give my match card predictions here. And then we will get out of here. We will get out of here for today. We're going to start with WrestleMania Backlash. The way storylines are going on Raw. The way things are heading. These are my predictions for WrestleMania Backlash. Obviously, we have 2 matches confirmed. We have Drew McIntyre challenging Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. And announced last night, we have the SmackDown Women's Championship where Bayley will be challenging Bianca Belair at WrestleMania Backlash. So I think we will have 8 matches total. Those other matches I think will happen is a WrestleMania rematch for the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka versus Rhea Ripley once again. United States Championship, Humberto Carrillo versus Sheamus after last Monday's Raw when Sheamus attacked Humberto Carrillo. I don't know whether this could be a pay-per-view match or they could do this on Raw, but I could easily see Humberto getting a huge upset over Sheamus, challenger pinning the champion, and then the challenger gets the match at the pay-per-view and loses. Typical WWE. That's the way they write television. The challenger beats the champion, and then they have a match at the pay-per-view. It's the way they do it because they are lazy. So I can easily see that match happening at Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash. And then another match I could see happening is, unfortunately, Randy Orton versus Braun. The Strowman Express. The Strowman Express. I can see that match happening because that match was supposed to happen Monday on Raw, and they canceled it with no explanation. Honestly, they canceled the match, and they didn't even bring it up. So, maybe they want to save it for this show. I don't know, but I'm going to say that this match is going to happen at the pay-per-view coming up on May 16th. We didn't get to the SmackDown matches. Obviously, Roman Reigns is beating Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. That is clear, I think. So, I still think that Cesaro is going to get his match for the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns, and that is going to happen at WrestleMania Backlash. How they get to that? After Roman beats Daniel Bryan, I don't know. Maybe they have, like I pitched last week on the SmackDown review, maybe they have Cesaro face Rollins one more time. This time it's a number one contenders match, and the winner faces Roman Reigns at the pay-per-view. I can easily see that happening. Cesaro goes over again. Cesaro gets the title match at WrestleMania Backlash. And if that's the case, no way is Cesaro winning. Roman Reigns is not dropping the title at a WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view, a D-level pay-per-view. If Roman Reigns is going to drop the Universal Championship, it is going to be at a major pay-per-view, either at SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, or when I think he is actually going to drop the title, I think he is going to drop the Universal Championship at next year's WrestleMania. So then we have that. We have Bayley Bianca. I think we get the Mysterios and the Dirty Dogs for the tag team titles. The Dirty Dogs defeated the Street Profits to retain the titles last week. This week, the Mysterios got a win over Alpha Academy. They have been getting the best of Alpha Academy the past couple weeks. So I think they are building up the Mysterios for a tag team title match. And more than likely, I could see them winning the titles. I can absolutely see the Mysterios. If that match happens, I can definitely see them walking out as the tag team champions. No question. And then finally, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Clearly, they are still feuding. Sami Zayn was dancing over Kevin Owens last night on SmackDown when KO lost to Apollo Crews. And this is Fight Forever. Really is Fight Forever. So I can definitely see this match happening again at WrestleMania Backlash. So that's my match card predictions for WrestleMania Backlash. 8 matches. And then finally, we got Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing match card, which is the pay-per-view's about a month away. A little bit more than that. 30-some days away until Double or Nothing, one of AEW's biggest shows of the entire year. I personally think their biggest pay-per-view of the year is All Out. That's my opinion. Out of the 4 pay-per-views, I think all 4 of their pay-per-views are big. Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear. But if I had to pick one pay-per-view as their biggest pay-per-view of the year, I would go All Out. So, Double or Nothing is first, May 30th, live on pay-per-view. And with everything, what's going on TV, I think it is pretty clear what the match card could be for the May 30th show for Double or Nothing. Once again, I got 8 matches predicted for this show. And the way I see going, let's go for the title matches first. I can see, as far as I'm pretty sure everybody has this, Adam Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. They're both these guys are doing really nothing right now. Page is getting win after win. He's beaten Ricky Starks, Max Caster. He beat Matt Hardy at the last pay-per-view. He has gotten a lot of wins, and they have been the commentary has been bringing up a lot during his matches that he is the number 1 ranked superstar, and he is undefeated in 2021 so far. So, I don't know why we wouldn't see this match at the next pay-per-view. Omega is doing nothing. Page is doing nothing. That is probably your main event for Double or Nothing. Women's Championship, I think after Wednesday, it's pretty clear where this is going. Dr. Britt Baker against Hikaru Shida for the women's title. And Shida's reign has an expiration date. And that expiration date is May 30th. No way Britt Baker is losing that match. After the lights out match she had with Thunder Rosa, the character work she has been doing on television, there is no way in hell Britt Baker is losing that match against Hikaru Shida. TNT Championship, this is a, I don't want to say a mess, but I don't know where this is going. They added Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky into the mix, which I'm just confused by their alliance on television. I don't know why they are together going for a singles title. I have no idea what they're doing there. You have Lance Archer, who has been in the fold ever since after Revolution. And now Wednesday, you have Miro. When Miro cut a vignette promo saying, if you have a championship, you got a problem. So whether it's guy going over to Impact Wrestling or the guy with emo face paint, you got a title, you got a problem with me. And who do I think gets the match? Who do I think gets the title match at Double or Nothing? I think it's Lance Archer. Lance Archer has been absolutely killing it. Even when you go back to February, he had the Falls Count Anywhere with Moxley, Kenny Omega, and Kenta. I think 3 weeks in a row, Lance Archer was in the main event of AEW Dynamite. And he has been doing great for them. He moved on to I don't want to say feuding, but being in segments with Sting. So clearly, I think they have plans for him. I think the way they are going with it, AEW, is Lance Archer versus Darby Allin at Double or Nothing. The Tag Team Championships, I think this is clear as day now too. Same as the women's title. I think this match is pretty clear for Double or Nothing. And that is the Young Bucks defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the team of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And Moxley and Kingston ran over the Elite's trailer Wednesday on Dynamite. And the Young Bucks ran away. They weren't in the trailer. The Young Bucks have a match against the Sydal brothers Wednesday on Dynamite. I can easily see Moxley and Eddie Kingston coming out to confront the Young Bucks after that match on Wednesday to set up the tag team title match. And that is going to be an awesome match. More than likely, that match is going to happen at Double or Nothing. That will probably be one of the best matches, I think. That is definitely co-main event worthy. not the main event over Hangman and Omega. But I can definitely see this match being the co-main event of the evening. That's a big match. Two big single stars like Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston against the Young Bucks. And this would be the second pay-per-view in a row where Moxley and Kingston would be the second pay-per-view in a row where the Young Bucks would be defending the tag team titles against two singles wrestlers. They defended the titles against Chris Jericho and MJF at Revolution, and now they would be defending the titles against Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. We're going to move on to the non-title matches. And by the way, to add on to the tag team situation, with the personal rivalry of that right now, I personally would make that a false count, no disqualification, no holds barred, false count anywhere. I would get the Young Bucks out of their element in that match, not wrestle a normal Young Bucks match. Now we're going to move on to the non-title matches. Matches that I could see for non-title at the pay-per-view. MJF one-on-one with Chris Jericho, which would be a rematch from November's Full Gear pay-per-view. I don't know where. I don't know what's going to happen at Blood and Guts. I don't know what to expect. But I believe Chris Jericho is going on a Fozzy tour very soon. I could be wrong by that, but I do think he's going on tour very, very soon. And I can easily see Chris Jericho putting over MJF on pay-per-view once again, and then him leaving for Fozzy for a couple months until maybe it's time for All Out or after All Out. So I could see that match happening at Double or Nothing before Jericho goes on tour. A Texas Bull Rope match with Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. Wednesday on Dynamite, Dustin Rhodes came out since the brutal attacks from QT, Anthony Ogogo, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo. Dustin Rhodes took a brain buster onto the steel steps, and was bleeding. He came back on Wednesday. No Cody. So personally, I could see Dustin and QT in a Texas Bull Rope match after Dustin came out with a bull rope on Wednesday's Dynamite. Now, they could have Cody come back and face QT Marshall at Double or Nothing. They could do that, but I think it's going to be Dustin. I think, because after this feud with the Nightmare Family, what exactly is this faction, the Factory, going to do? So I can easily see them dragging this feud past a Double or Nothing, and we get the Cody QT Marshall match on Dynamite. So I have that. Texas Bull Rope, Dustin, QT, one-on-one match with Christian Cage feuding with Team Taz. He defeated Powerhouse Hobbs this past Wednesday on Dynamite. And they teased a match with Ricky Starks and Christian Cage. I think that happens on an episode of Dynamite. I don't think that happens at the pay-per-view. I think that match will happen on Dynamite. What I do think will happen at the pay-per-view is Christian Cage versus Brian Cage. Brian Cage has been teasing to leave Team Taz ever since after Revolution. And this could be the continuing point, or this could be the point where Brian Cage is done with Team Taz and he turns babyface. So I think we get Cage and Cage at Double or Nothing. And then the final match I can see happening is a 6-man tag with the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy versus Death Triangles Pac, Penta El Zero M, and Rey Fenix. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up episode 6 of the Big Fight Fuel podcast. I thank each and every one of you for joining me here today on the podcast. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Fuel channel. We are 7 subscribers away until 400 subscribers right here on the Big Fight Fuel channel. So if you have not already, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 400 subscribers here on the channel. Comment down below your thoughts on today's topics talked about on the Big Fight Fuel podcast. Daniel Bryan might not longer be a long-term wrestler after Friday's SmackDown. The whole Mickie James situation. Charlotte Flair suspension. Let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me in today's podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Conlin_Joseph. And like I said before, I will keep you guys updated on what is going to happen tomorrow. If there is going to be a mock draft video tomorrow or not. If there is, whenever the mock draft video comes out, I am going to make that episode 7 of the Big Fight Fuel podcast. Since you guys didn't get an episode last week, I am going to make the mock draft episode 7 here on the channel. And we will talk about Rebellion, myself and Wesley Williams. But I don't know if it's going to be the whole show yet or just the main event. It really depends on how the whole show goes. I do have school on Monday. That's the first. Monday is the first time all year that I'm going in school in person. So I might make a short review. That way I can get to bed earlier, get some rest. Because school starts at 7:15. Got to wake up at probably 6:15. So yeah, that is tomorrow. There will be some sort of review, mock draft tomorrow, hopefully. If not, if there's no mock draft tomorrow, I'll try to squeeze it in at a time next week with a double upload before Thursday's draft. But I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy the nice weather. Have a good day. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy.